buenos días a todos. Gracias a los que se conectaron. Buenas tardes en Francia, Pierre. Bonne nuit. Si nos escuchas.
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Bueno,
Okay. So, hello everyone. Yeah. Oh,
sí, están en
I
mute.
was losing you.
Yeah,
Did you say
están
anything?
en mute. All right. A ver, la
Okay.
conferencia de Pierre eh, va a ser en inglés y yo les voy a dar la introducción en español y, y pues también hablar un poco de las características del escáner Cobra en español, y si tienen dudas las pueden poner en el chat. Para los que no me conocen, yo soy Horacio Ruiz, soy el director general de Autodigital. Me encuentro aquí en Guadalajara y Pierre se conectó desde Francia, desde Limoges, desde el Lemosín, una ciudad en el sur de Francia. Pierre-Francois Crenier es el gerente de marketing y ventas de Borea. Y pues bueno, a ver, en Orto Digital siempre buscamos fabricantes innovadores con productos abiertos, fáciles de usar y que se integren 100% al flujo digital. Y descubrimos este escáner o este espectofotómetro digital y pues queremos mostrárselo al mercado mexicano el día de hoy. El Cobra Shade ofrece ergonomía, precisión, higiene, diseño 100% digital y permite una comunicación muy fácil entre usted, el dentista, y el paciente, y también entre el laboratorio y el paciente. Entonces, pues vamos a empezar. Pierre, if you want to go ahead and start, I already gave a little bit of
Okay.
introduction.
Perfect. So, Pierre-Francois Crenier, so the marketing manager at Borea. And today I will introduce you the Cobra, which is, as we can say, a versatile shade scanner. What does it mean? It means that you have multiple applications with that device. You will see that it replaces manual shade guides, but you will be able to use it in many different manners and many different kind of treat. So it's a fully digital device. And well, I will start with more theoretical informations first, and then I will do a live demo directly on myself for you to really understand how works the device and how is the digital workflow with the computer and the device itself. So, and then of course, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to ask on the chat and we can answer them, of course. So, okay. First of all, just a short introduction about Borea. So Borea is a French company. We are mainly dedicated to the manufacturing of digital equipment, and particularly the Cobra device. We also developed the software solution. We do everything internally. So we manufacture the device, develop the software. So we have software development team with image treatment team, some people working with mechatronic, optical, etc. So we are really dedicated to device manufacturing and software development. We are still a young company because we are. That's a device that we are currently selling, I won't say worldwide, but mostly in Europe, a little bit in the USA, in Japan as well, some countries in Asia. And we are just, launching the product with Auto Digital and Horacio this year in Mexico. So that's why we are today doing this webinar. Need to understand is that the dentistry has been evolving, of course. When you think about producing a crown, there's two important informations that you need to get. So the first one will be the dimension. So before we were using alginate and then silicones, and nowadays we use more and more intraoral scanners. Impression of the mouse. It's more or less the same thing with shade because there's two information: the dimension and the color. And so you can now get the dimension digitally thanks to intraoral scanners. And now you can also get the real color of the tooth with a digital device. So we were using manual guides previously, and now we can really use a digital tool for scanning and send it to the lab. So that's the goal. It's a real complementary tool to intraoral scanners. Both devices can be really used not at the same time because you need first to take the shade and then take the digital impression, but then both files can be, let's say, kind of combined to be sent to the lab and get a fully digital workflow between the dental practice and the lab. Why we decided to develop a color scanner, a shade scanner? It's because using manual guides, which is mostly used nowadays worldwide in every practices, is a subjective method. Kind of manual guide. And why? Because there are some requirements that are asked directly by the manufacturers. If we think about this, is an example of Vita, Vita classical shade guide, which is the most commonly used shade guide in the world. But you have the same requirements if you use a different shade guide from different brands like Ivoclar, Noritake, etc. And if you look at the user guide from those manual guides, it says that you should be in an ideal situation, which is already complex. So it means in a place where you have white walls and not color walls, otherwise it will interfere in your perception. You should be under daylight without direct sun exposure at the end of the morning by a cloudy sky. So this is the ideal situation. So it's already a bit complex to get in the right situation to use a manual guide. And then you still have subjectivity, even if you are in the ideal situation because of the perception. You're dependent of the ocular physiology, of course, the retina age, the visual perception and education. Let's say that someone using a manual guide since many years, a dental technician with really specific knowledge about colors will probably have more skills to determine colors than a young dentist, for example. Then you will probably have interferences from the surrounding lights. Like, of course, you can do the test by yourself, but being under warm light or cold light will interfere in your perception. You will see the color differently. And then you also have the patient itself that is probably wearing lipstick or clothes with very specific colors, like red colors, for example, and this will interfere in your perception. So that's why it's a bit difficult to use a manual guide because it's complicated to be in the ideal situation. And even if you're in the ideal situation, you can still be subjective because of the human eyes. Men and women have different perceptions. Young and old people have different perceptions. So then it's a complex thing to send the right information to the lab. But at the end, if you want something very nice to put in mouse, I mean, a good crown, you need to transmit the right information to the technician. So that's why we developed a solution for that. Following this discussion about manual guide, this is just for you to have an idea of, okay, the Vita, for example, developed the Vita classical shade guide, which is the most commonly used. This is the Vita classical shade guide. So it has been already a long time ago. It has only 16 shades. And on the left side of this presentation here, you can see a kind of square. And this square represents the two color space. So it means that normally every humans and tooth color can be placed in this area. So you see that you have the luminosity on the left side, and you have the color from more yellow to more red, and the chromaticity of that shade from paler to more intensive chroma. This is a space that you can call every shade reference of the Vita Classical inside of this tooth color space. And what you can see is that it does not cover perfectly the tooth color space when you're using a Vita Classical. So you might be facing a patient where using the Vita Classical, you will never find the right shade because it does not have the right shade actually. So that's why they developed in 1998 the 3D Master Shade Guide, which is a definitely more complex shade guide because it's based in that time not in empirical findings like it was the case for the Vita Classical, but it's based on the scientific rules, which is the LCH or LAB values. So L is for the luminosity, C is for the chroma, and H is for the hue. So you have three color coordinates, and they developed that shade guide in, as I said, in 1998. It includes 26 shades, and it's perfectly cover the tooth color space. So as you can see, you have in the tooth color space the exact same distance between every shade. So it perfectly cover that tooth color space. The thing is that I'm still facing a lot of dentists that don't want to use that shade guide because it's more complex to use. Indeed, it has a kind of a protocol to follow if you want to use that shade guide, and it's more complex, a little bit more complex because you have more shades. Instead of 16, you have 26. So this is the lightness. So you set select between 5 different families of lightnesses. Then you select the chroma for white. So there's a protocol that you can use in your daily practice. But to be honest, it's still a bit complex and time consuming. You still have subjective analysis because you're doing it with your eyes. And it's still difficult to transmit the right information to the lab, because using this protocol, you will be more efficient instead in using manual guides, but you still have the subjectivity of eyes. So you will determine one single color, and you still need to transmit that information to the lab, and that might be difficult. So that's why using the Cobra, you will do that analysis in thousands of points over the tooth and have a complete detailed mapping that you can directly forward to your lab instantly. So you're definitely much more efficient. And there's no more subjectivity in your shade detection because the system is calibrated. It makes an analysis objectively, and it makes it automatically with, as I said, thousands of points over the tooth, which is impossible to do with your eyes, actually. So we are analyzing far beyond the eye's perception. Just talking a little bit about the technology that we are using, it's called the spectrophotometry. So that's a technology that is already available in many different industries in the world. When you look at the scientific contents that you can find anywhere, every time you need to determine a color, whatever the field you would like to determine that color, it could be with paintings, could be for clothes, for cars, for whatever, using a spectrophotometer is the most efficient solution nowadays. So the spectrophotometry that we are using is making an analysis under the visible 780 nanometers. So that's the visible spectrum. So it's totally safe for the patient. It means that you can take as many shade acquisition on the patient tooth as you want. It's a safe operation for them. As you can see on the lower part of that slide here, we are analyzing the tooth under several wavelengths that determines each wavelength has a different color, and that the visible spectrum. Of course, if you have any further information, you need any further information about the technology, we can share some later on. This is just to explain you a little bit more about the LAB values and LCH value that we are talking about just previously about the tooth color space, because that's important. We have on our software, which is for the bleaching treatments. I will explain you why just after, but just for you to have this idea about what it is. When you talk about colors, every colors can be placed on that sphere that you have in front of you in that presentation. That's the LAB value. So you have the L, which is the luminosity that starts from 0 in the bottom part. L0 is black, and L for 100 is fully white. Then you have the A value, which starts from minus A as green and goes to A positive A as red. And then you have the minus B, which is blue, to positive B, which is yellow. So anytime you see a color, whatever, a tooth color, whatever the color, you can analyze the 3 color coordinates, which is that color in that sphere. So when you are talking about tooth color space, the tooth color space is this small area that you have on the top here. You never have a shade which is on the green or on the blue. It's always almost in the yellow, a little bit in the red. So this is the tooth color space we were placed the 3D master shade guide, just for you to have an idea of how it was covering that tooth color space. So having a L value, a luminosity value, a A value, and a B value, like it is explained here on this presentation, you can see that, for example, in the example that you have here, it's 79 as a L, then it's A of 8 and B of 21, and that gives you a real color, which is a tooth color here. We will see after that this indication is important when you are doing bleaching treatment, because you can predict shades due to that LAB values. Talking about that technology of spectrophotometry, I'm just showing you some results we had and we received from some studies. This is a study that has been made by French, and they analyzed the shade detection done with an intraoral scanner, done with a manual guide, and done with a colorimeter and with a spectrophotometer. And their result was that intraoral scanners remain unreliable because they have a narrow choice of colors. And they also say that they should not be used for deciding shades for final restoration. And at the end of the study, they also explained that spectrophotometers are the best adapted tools for shade matchings because they analyze those LAB values, and you need a spectrophotometer for analyzing that values. This study is available on our website, and I will share then the link on how to access it. Talking about the device itself, it's a plug-and-play device. So this is the pack presentation. So it includes everything. You have, of course, the scanner. You have a docking station for charging. You have a USB-C cable. You have an adapter. You have a small Wi-Fi dongle to make the connection between the computer and the device. And you also have 8 tips that you have on the right side. Those tips are really important. Because this is part of the technology of the spectrophotometer that we build for that device. So this is a pathology from Borea. Yeah, I mean the technology itself, spectrophotometry, is not patented by Borea. Developed, adapted for tooth analyzing, and the way we placed the LEDs and that calibration tip and the CMOS sensor, etc. This is patented by our company. So why it is important, this great tip? It's because it will help you first. It will make the automatic calibration because there's a gray reference inside of that tip that enable the white balance at each acquisition. Every time you're doing an acquisition on the tooth, the system calibrates itself automatically. Then it helps you also for the positioning because you will get ready in contact with the tooth while you are scanning. And it's also hygienic because you can sterilize it in the objective because it's fully calibrated on that gray reference that we have inside of the mouthpiece. This is just an example, a video example, how you can take a shade on. You need a software for that. So it comes with the software, which is a free software, and I will demonstrate it just and fully the shade acquisition. So I'm just launching the video now. And launching you see that is lighting up on the device, the computer screen. You come against the tooth. Once you're in the right position, you scan, and the file is automatically transferred into the patient folder, into the dedicated software that we are offering with the device. So it takes, as you can see here, it was not doing it in a hurry. It has taken 40 seconds only. And you have a really accurate shade taking. And we will see what you get. This is what you get, actually. So you scan one tooth, and you will first have, as you can see on the right side, a polarized image of the tooth. So that's already a that you can share with your lab. Because currently, when you're doing a manual shade detection, you just give a shade reference. But if you want to share additional information, you need to take pictures. And as we know, taking pictures, instead of if you have a camera, if you do it with your phone, lightness, which is automatically adapted by the smartphone. So you might have wrong lighting conditions. So here it's already interesting. Look at that picture, you can clearly see that you can see, for example, the translucency areas on the tooth. So that is a polarized image, okay? Then you go to the first tab here where you can see an overall shade. So the system calculates what is the most present shade on the tooth, okay? It gives you one single. Then it gives you a 3-part shades mapping. So it gives an average on each third of the tooth, starting from the top to the bottom part of the tooth. So upper part, middle part, and incisal part. It gives you then a 9-part shade, and you also have the detail mapping. So the detail mapping that you can see on the lower part of the presentation here is the spectral analysis. So what does those color means? It means that every colors correspond to a shade reference of the selected shade guide. So in that example is the 3D master. So we can see that the blue part is the 1M2 shade, the orange part is a 2M1 shade, and the green part is a 1M1 shade. So it gives you an idea. And what is the most present shade as well. So that is the most accurate shade analysis you can give and get with the Cobra scanner. And then you also have the translucency mapping, which is also really important in case you are doing some anterior teeth, because you need to transmit that information of translucency more natural at the end. So all of those informations are automatically analyzed and stored into your software in a few seconds. So that's why we are saying that you're definitely more objective, and it's much more information that you get than a single shade analysis with your manual guide. About the software, it comes with several shade guides. You have a library of shade guides. All of them are written here. So you have some Hide-It shade guide, Hivoclar ones, and Vita, etc. But I will give you a demo now, just for you to better understand how it works. So I will just start my software. Okay, I'm just launching it, and it's currently opening. Okay, so here is the software. So that's a free software that you can download directly from our website. Every time you buy, you need, of course, you first buy the system, and then you can download the software. The software can be installed in several computers. It's unlimited in terms of profiles that you can create. There are several languages available: French, English, Spanish, etc. So you add a user, you just click on your profile, and then you have a different tab, the restoration tab, where you will have your patient list. So in case it's a new patient, you can just create a new patient and type a name. Let's say, okay, let's call it Jean, and let's say, oh, maybe like that. Oh, it's already exists. Okay, let's put a 1 after. Name, etc. is not compulsory. You just need name and first name, and you create, and that gives you, opens actually a patient folder now. From here, I'm just light on my device that I have in my hand right now that you can see on the video. So to light it on, pretty easy, just press the trigger that you have here. There's the gray tip that I have in my hands here. I'm sorry, because the video, okay. And then you just need to clip it on the top. So you just clip. Of course, you sterilize it first before using it. You place it on the top, and when you light on the device, then the device would be, as you can see on the top here, connected and synchronized. It means that you can start taking a shade. So to launch the video, you just have to press either the OLED screen that you have on the device here. I'm sorry, okay. There's the video. So if I press, it gives you the video on the computer screen and on the device screen. Then you use that device to come against the tooth. I will do it on me right now. As you could see, I use that video stream to get in the right position. I just press the trigger, the button, and the acquisition is made automatically. You want to take another shade, you just press again, come against the tooth, and scan. It's really easy to use. Of course, there's a small learning curve at the beginning, but there is a protocol that you need to follow, and you have all the guidelines that are delivered with the device. So I take two acquisition. So let's say that it was tooth number 21. I take it twice. So let's say 21 and 21. Okay, I close one of them. We can see in the back now in the tooth numbering system here that on tooth 21, I have a shade. It appears in blue. Okay. And both files are saved directly in Elements here. So if I'm closing the software, come back later, 6 months later, I can still read the information. First of all, the device will determine the tooth border. This is what you get here. It's a blue line. So it determines automatically that tooth border. If you want to redo it, you can, either automatically or manually. In my case, I don't need to redo it because it fits perfectly the tooth shape. So then I go straight to stratification. And from here, I will be able to select different shade guides. As I said, we have a complete library of shade guides. So if I use, for example, Noritake shades, I click on Noritake and I can read the overall shade, which is A1 in my case. Then I have a 3-part shades. We divide the tooth in 3 parts. You have a 9-part shades and a detail mapping. So here you can clearly see what are the corresponding shades on the tooth. So it says A1 as the most presently shades here. If I want to convert that shade to another shade guide like Vita Classical, for example, I can click on Vita Classical and that makes the conversion. So we can see that it's also A1 based on Vita Classical shade guide. In case you do direct restorations with composites, and you need to use some composites based on the Vita shades, but you don't have, for example, that D2 and B1 shade, you can erase them. So I delete the D2 and I delete the B1, and the system is recalculating the next closest match. So it's a tool that is easy to use in case you don't have all the references available at a time and you need to do a restoration. Of course, the more shades you will be deleting and the less accurate you will be. Let's keep it as it was in Noritake. And then you can check the translucency here. So it's value of translucency. The whiter it is, the more translucent it is. Then you can convert shades, the color picture into black and white, and use the luminosity and contrast here to better see if there's any specific characteristic on that tooth, cracks, translucent areas, for example. Those tools are mostly used by labs, actually, not by the dentist itself, except if they are milling crowns themselves and doing the staining themselves. But otherwise, those tools are mostly dedicated for labs. They can do measurements as well. So you can analyze the distance. If you have whatever you need to measure, you can analyze it here. And here is the LAB value. We were talking about it previously, LAB or LCH, which are two different manners of reading those color coordinates. And for example, in my case here, in the middle of the tooth, it says closest match is A1 based on Noritake shade guide. And I have a L value of 76.4, a value of 1.1, a B value of 11. And the delta E, which is written in green here, says it's the colorimetric distance between the reality on the tooth and the closest match. What you have to understand is that the system will always give you the closest match. So if you had a dark point on the tooth, it will probably give you D4 because that's the most dark shade on the shade guide. But you might have a really high delta E because it's not black. So it's still far from black. So here it gives you an idea of, does the shade guide that I'm currently using will be efficient to produce a crown based on my natural tooth. So for example, if I switch to Vita Classical, I'm switching. It says also A1, and the delta E is 2.0, while it was in Noritake 2.1, if I'm 0.6, sorry, 0.6. So it means that A1 from Noritake will be more efficient for my tooth than using a Vita shade. Okay. That information is also important, as I said, for bleaching treatment, because you can evaluate the luminosity of the tooth, and you can clearly see if the luminosity is improving or not during the treatment. I took twice, two different shades. If you remember, I have two acquisitions here, so I can tick them and make a comparison. If I click on compare, it offers me the possibility of checking let's say the before and after. It's currently charging. Okay, and you can see before and after. Okay, that's the same tooth in my case, but you can imagine before and after, and so that's a visual perception, but you can then do a shade comparison. So you see you select the area you would like to compare. It can be a single area, it can be a 3-part mapping. So let's keep it simple with one single area. I will enlarge it, and it says A1 before and A1 now. Of course, that's the same tooth, but imagine before the treatment and after the treatment. That's a way to demonstrate been offering to them was efficient. From here, you can then generate and use the bleach guide 3D master in case you want to be more accurate and use a specific shade guide. So I won't go too far in that feature because there's a new feature coming soon, which will be the bleaching module that we have here. This module will be available from September 2025. Just before going to the bleaching tab, I would like to show you how you can transmit the case to a lab. So imagine your patient entered the clinic and the tooth. That's the very first thing you have to do, because if the patient stay with the mouth open too long, then the tooth will start to dry, and scan the tooth, register that shade. It's registered automatically. From here, you can export the file. So I can either generate and export a native file, which is called RPK, or print a PDF, or export all. If I do export all, it generates a zip file that I will save, for example, in my desktop. Okay, I'm saving it now. So I just select desktop, save it. It's currently saving the case. Okay, you can see here that it's charging. My desktop is on the back, so I have to wait for it to be exported. Okay, and I'm opening my desktop here. So here is the zip file that I double click on it. You have first a PDF file, complete shade report as a PDF that looks like this. Okay, I'm opening it. So you have all the mappings: overall shade, 3-part mapping, 9-part mapping, detail mapping, and translucency mapping. So that is already very powerful. I mean, you already. The thing is that it's fixed based on one single shade guide. So if you're sending it based on Noritake to your lab, but your lab doesn't want to use Noritake powders, or materials, but want to use Vita materials, then they have to do the conversion themselves. So that's why we are also sharing the native file, which is that file here. So your lab having the will automatically open a shade viewer, which is a digital shade viewer. So they have access to absolutely everything, like if they were taking the shade going to one shade guide to the consistency mapping, luminosity and contrast tab. They have absolutely everything. So that's very powerful. So if you export a zip file, I recommend in a case you're using an intraoral scanner to just drag and drop, to copy and paste that zip file to your scanner. For example, you're using Medit or PrimeScan, whatever the scanner you're using, Dexis or whatever, you can just take that zip file and join it to your prescription on your scanner platform. And that way you are sending the shade and the dimension together to the lab. It's an easy way to send both information to the lab. Other solution, it's to pass by our own online platform, which is free as well and called Borea Connect. So if I click on order here directly from my shade acquisition, it instantly opens the Borea Connect platform, which generate an order. So I can activate or deactivate that order form. If I deactivate it, I have the file attached. I can select my lab and send it digitally. How to send it? I just need to click here. I just need to enter in contact with the lab first. If this is the map where we have several users already registered on the platform. So this is based in France, but I'm a dentist. I want to work with that lab. I go and search for it, add it to my contact. If they accept it, then I can start sending cases to them. So it's an easy way to forward the case digitally. If I come back to the reopen it, is attached. So as it is an online platform, you can access it from every tablets. You just need an internet connection and you can read the case on. So you can read the shades, convert the shades as well. And if you want to be more specific on your prescription, then you can activate the order form and say, okay, I want, for example, a fixed prosthesis, 11 certifications that I want. It can be low, standard, already high aesthetical work. Whatever I'm selecting here, the lab will receive the complete file. So if I send it now, it gives me a kind of confirmation and I just click on send. So my lab received it instantly. And I can then communicate through a chat. I can see the state sharing cases with your lab. You can export the file and join it to your intraoral scanner. You can send it by email. You can send it also through the Borea Connect platform. So that's it about how to transfer files. And just for you to see what is coming next will be a bleaching tab. So this is really dedicated to bleaching. So you can just open a patient. So let's take one of them here. There's no case, so you have to create a case. I will use it as a light mode. So I want to scan one single tooth. Let's say tooth number 11. And if I go next, it will guide me on how to proceed to analyze the tooth. The goal here will be to scan before the treatment, during the treatment, and after the treatment, just to have an overview of the situation. So I'm lighting on my device again right now. I'm just waiting it to be connected and synchronized. When it's ready, it says, you can see in orange here, you have to scan tooth number 11. So let's wait first to be connected and synchronized. Okay, so we'll scan my tooth again. I scan my tooth and automatically I can check the tooth border. If I'm fine, I just validate it. And it gives me the corresponding shade based on the bleaching guide. And it says, okay, that's your shade. You're just between both 1M 1.5 and 1M2. So from here, the system will also predict the possibility of bleaching. So we have different methods and models available on the software. So you select one of them and it gives you the prediction. So we can see that in my tooth, the possibility of bleaching is not that much, but I could probably have around, let's say, 2-3 shades. So it depends on the model. If I go to another model, it gives a little bit more. So it depends also on the materials you're using, but that's a way to communicate with the patient. So this, you can do it on the very first appointment that you have with your patient. And when your patient comes for the second time, you can start again, scan the tooth number 11. So I'm scanning again. Okay, that's the same too. So we won't see that much evolution, but you could see the before and after. So in my case, it's in the same position, 1 and 2. But imagine the before and after when you do a bleaching treatment. It's an easy way to communicate about the evolution and the improvement of shades to your patient. So this is really a module dedicated to bleaching to guide you. You can add patient pictures as well to really have a complete case and really communicate with the patient, do it automatically with a device, and you can also generate reports from here. So this is about the solution itself, very easy to use, as I said. I'm just going back to the presentation here, just for you, in case you want to have more information about how to use it, some clinical case. I really suggest you to visit our website. If I go back here and on our website, which is borea.dental, I go there, borea-dental.com. You have it in Spanish, English, and French. So if you go in Academy, you will be able to have access to some clinical cases. Here, there's a review that has been done by the Institute of Digital Dentistry, where you will be able to see an unboxing video and a fully hands-on video. And then you have some clinical cases of some French doctors or international doctors that have been using the RS scanner for producing crowns, using it with intraoral scanners in some cases, using it for bleaching treatment here. Here is a case where it was a master dental technician using our solution for producing crowns. So do not hesitate to visit that website where you can find a lot of information. We were talking about studies, so there's the study here I was talking about, a comparating in vivo study of new chain matching procedure. So you can have the complete access to that study as well online. So just to have as a resume of the situation, that's a product which is dedicated to dentists, but it can be used as well by labs, of course. It really improves the communication between the dental practice and the lab, but also between the dental practice and the patients. So you can see here in this slide all the product advantages and benefits. Of course, it's ergonomic, so it's wireless and easy to use. You will definitely save time because you have a fully objective and detailed shade mapping, which is done in a few seconds. Everything is recorded. It's accurate and repeatable. So it's an easy way. It's easy to add it to your dental practice workflow. Of course, you will reduce the redo of crowns because you will be sending a more accurate shade information to your lab. It's fully digital, so you can archive those files. It's easy to recover files, and you can easily share it with intraoral scan as well. It's a way to improve the patient motivation because it's a kind of a didactic solution that you can show with the live view. You can then show all the shades directly to your patient on the screen. If you're using the Borea Connect for labs, that's pretty interesting as well because it's an easy way to give visibility to your lab. The fact of having colorimetric coordinates with LAB values, it's very powerful for bleaching, as I said, because you will be able to predict the potential of bleaching based on the LAB values. And also it's an hygienic product because you can simply sterilize the mouthpiece, place it on the top, scan the tooth. So there's a lot of benefits in using that kind of devices in your daily practice, and that replaces actually the manual guide. Every time you need to take a shade, instead of doing it manually with a manual guide, you can then do it digitally. So it really replaced manual guides actually. So thank you. I guess that might have a couple of questions maybe, so I'm here to answer them. And if Horacio, you would like to add anything, maybe in Spanish, please feel free.
Yeah, you can speak in Spanish, Pierre, you know that, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Pues saber, muchas gracias a los que se conectaron. El Borea, el escáner, ya lo tenemos aquí en Guadalajara. Es uno demo y lo vamos a estar llevando a los diferentes congresos y expos que vamos. De hecho, aquí en Guadalajara tenemos un centro radiológico, una empresa hermana de ortodigital, se llama True Dental y ofrecemos para los dentistas que nos mandan a sus pacientes, ofrecemos ese servicio gratuito de la colorimetría de su paciente. Entonces, si están en Guadalajara, pues no duden en contactarnos, ya sea en ortodigital o True Dental. Entonces, la verdad a mí me parece un producto muy padre, muy innovador, fácil de usar, sin costos escondidos, con software incluido pues si quieren catapultar su clínico laboratorio digamos que ser más formales, más profesionales o tener una mejor calidad en sus restauraciones, pues este es un dispositivo que sin duda puede apoyarlos. El precio en México ahorita lo tenemos como promoción, un descuento Pierre, va a estar en $2,999, ya con IVA, pues obviamente incluye la capacitación, ¿no? de cómo usar este espectofotómetro. Entonces, thank you very much, Pierre. Bueno, no sé si hay algunas dudas, las pueden poner aquí en el chat eh, pues estaremos por acá respondiendo. Si no tienen ninguna duda, esta presentación vamos a subirla a nuestra página de YouTube pues ya nos conocen para que nos contacten y contacten a su ejecutivo.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Horacio, for your time and for organizing that webinar. And thank you, everyone, for participating. And of course, please feel free to contact Horacio if he has any very specific questions. I'm here as well to answer them directly from the manufacturer. So do not hesitate, of course. It will be our pleasure to help you and answer you.
Perfecto. Merci beaucoup, Pierre.
Thank you
We'll
all.
be in
Merci
contact.
beaucoup. Keep in contact. Bye
Hasta luego.
bye.
Gracias.